Okay.
All right, let's got started. So Dr. Rajat Mitra, if you can please come put your video on.
I have done that. Am I audible?
Okay, yes. Now you are visible. Yes, thank you. All right. So it's a pleasure to have Dr. Rajat Mitra next speaker. He's very well known. He's a author of this famous book, The Infidel Next Door, on the plight of Hindus in Kashmir, and we have been talking about Kashmir right now. So Dr. Rajat Mitra is a psychologist, and he has worked with the grief and trauma of people across many countries. And it is very interesting that he has also worked with Islamists in Thailand, terrorists in Indian prisons, and also in UN. He has spoken in UN and different universities, groups, audiences across the world. So he's a writer and he's a speaker on issues related to historical injustice and collective trauma. So he's a social entrepreneur and an Ashokan Fellow from 2004, and he has also received the United Nations Public Service Award in 2011. So The Infidel Next Door, especially I'd like to highlight, this is a fantastic book about these people in Kashmir, and we have been just listening to the previous speaker on Kashmir and what happens. And I actually recommend everybody to read this book. And I understand that he's working on the second book, which is Island Without a Shore.
That's right.
Yes. Right. And this is, again, an extremely interesting and historically important topic, which is the British India slavery, that how they use slavery, not in the, by declaring this as slavery, but it was slavery nonetheless, right? So
that's right.
Yeah. So other than this UN award, he has received NASSCOM Social Innovations Honors and Edelgate Social Innovation Honors for Gender Justice in 2010. And this was so we are extremely glad to have him. He's a very well-known speaker. And today, the topic that he will be speaking to us is the transgenerational trauma of Hindus. And a psychologist speaks, and no better a psychologist than Dr. Rajat Mitra to tell us about it. So over to him, and we will take the questions in the end. So you can please keep on typing the questions, and we will take them all in the end. Thank you, Dr. Mitra.
Dhanyavad, Arnab, and it's a great pleasure to be here and talk about a topic which is very dear to me. So am I audible clearly to everyone?
Yes, you are.
Okay, fine. Okay, I'll be talking about transgenerational trauma and what effect it had on the Hindu psyche. And as Arnab, you introduced me about with my book, The Infidel Next Door. Let me tell you, just begin with a story. The other day, somebody wrote to me. I get letters from all over the world. He says, I have bought your book, but there is no mention of trauma of Hindus or Kashmir in that. I mean,
Dr. Mitra, I think we have lost him. Connection is off. Okay, just while he's connecting back, so this Infidel Next Door, while he's coming back. So this is actually this is about the people in Kashmir and how almost overnight the life in Hindus transformed. So it is about the genocide that went into Kashmir, and there is no two ways about it. And this bigotry, intolerance by the Islamists of Kashmir, it was planned, and they wanted to permanently erase the Hindus, and not just physically, but the culture. More importantly, I think the culture, that was what was targeted, to erase it from the face of Kashmir. And well, of course, I mean, there are this, I mean, this is a story and this novel in the end. So there are these very nice, what do you call, anecdotes and small factoids and all those things. So uh, the bigger point, I guess, is that so whether the Hindus and the Muslims can stay together. So many there is this many other forums and many other places where say no, all that is fine. Yeah, we know this is the historically the Muslims oppressed us, killed us, etc. But now I think they are reformed enough. There are enough voices in it. We can stay together. So it does investigate this question at some level, and it shows different things. My take is probably it's not possible unless they reform their ways significantly. And this I am saying this is because this is not happening only once. This has been happening again and again and again, starting from this Khilafat movement and all of these things. Then, of course, the great Calcutta killings that happened, the Noakhali riots, and Kashmir. So we thought, oh, it was all because again, the British, because they were oppressed and they had to find a way out and all those things. Then they got their own country, and then this keeps on going on. So there's something more fundamental to it.
Hello, am I audible now?
I am. Yeah, Dr. Mitra is back. So, Dr. Mitra, if you can please.
Yeah, I lost connection, and I'm really sorry for that. We tried very hard, and my daughter helped me to immediately reconnect again. That also shows how fast children are in today's world, and helping their fathers, and in doing so. So when I was doing so, she quickly came over and said, "Baba, amake oi korte dao, ami ekhoni kore dicchi." So she could do that. So okay. So I'm talking about transgenerational trauma, and it's a very important topic for us, those. So as I was talking about transgenerational trauma, let me begin with a story. Like I live in Delhi, which is a Hindu city. And one thing that struck me was that there are no medieval temples in Delhi. For example, the oldest temple in Delhi, which is Birla Temple, is only 100 years old, not even 100. It was made in 1939. And if we look for a temple before that, we don't have any temple which is of a large size, which is of a big size. Now, Hindus had culture, art of developing, making huge temples. So why is it that there is no large temple in Delhi? I mean, we have, St. James Church, which is 300 years old. We have numerous mosques, masjids all across Delhi, which are 300, 500, 800 years old, right? But why is it that there was no
Join the meeting?
In fact, I searched for it and I found that the oldest temple is Yogmaya Temple, which is a very small one, which cannot be even seen, beyond a point, more than 100 meters. So I began my research and I found some very interesting facts that no temples were built for a long time in a city like Delhi, almost for 1,000 years, right? So why is it that Hindus who were in predominant majority did not build a large temple in Delhi? It was because of a certain fear that pervaded them, and they knew that if they were to build a temple, it will be demolished or it will be broken down. So they did not build any. So why did they then build a temple in 1939, which is the first large temple in Delhi? They built it because at 1939, the freedom struggle was at its peak. The nationalism gave them the motive, the power to go ahead and again take the initiative of building a temple. So after almost 1,000 years, Hindus built a new temple for themselves in Delhi, right? And this is something I have asked several historians. I have asked people from all walks of life, and surprisingly, nobody knew about it, or nobody even talked about it, that, this is something they were aware of, right? So when I go to Birla Temple, I wonder that why is it that we don't place a plaque over there, or a notice board saying that this is a temple that was built after 1,000 years, because it also shows the rise of the Hindu spirit. It shows the rise of Hindutva. It shows the rise of Hinduism once again, that the fact that we could rise again. And I tried picking up this issue with several people, and they all said, "Why do you want to, create a conflict? Why do you want to raise this?" So I said, the fact that it's something also historically true, that it was built in response to a prolonged fear that Hindus lived in, and they could overcome it only after centuries. So now the thing is, we need to take an initiative to write over there that this is a temple that was built after almost 1,000 years. And because it will give rise to a sense of resurgence within us. And let me share with you that when Birla Temple was built and it was inaugurated, I think, do you all know who came to inaugurate it? No less than Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, because he realized the importance of building this temple. But nowhere it is mentioned that in history books, in places, we don't talk about that, how we were silenced, how we did not build any temples, any heritage for ourselves, and how we started again. Now, today we can see major temples once again coming up, which is of large size. But once upon a time, it could not, be done. In fact, I have a close connection with Kashmiri community, and there was a discussion about Kashmir going on. One thing which I heard from Kashmiri, friends of mine, is that they shifted all their festivals to within uh, celebrating it within their homes. All religious festivals were not outside, but once upon a time it was outside. Why did it happen? Because again, of fear of Muslims, that if we do this, then we will be attacked, will be destroyed. So all Kashmiri festivals, for example, you see happen inside the home. Major festivals in North India, they have only started coming out right now, like Navrata and all that, and doing so. But if you trace historical records, you will find that it did not happen that way, right? We are changing, and it is important that this history be taught to our children, that how we stayed in fear and how we have changed and how we are changing right now. Our children do not know this history, this part of our history. And that is what brings me to the second point, is that we, there are two Hinduisms that, we face today. One is the Hinduism of our shlok, of our Vedas, of our Upanishads, of Gitas. And the other Hinduism, the part of Hinduism that is, which struggles to preserve it, our priests, our fighters, whether it is Maharana Pratap or Shivaji, who also fought for Hinduism because they saw that that is being obliterated by the Muslim rulers, or people like Swami Shraddhanand, who fought for Hinduism. Their history needs to be told. Our children need to be told that Hinduism is in danger and we need to fight it, because the children of in other religions, they are being taught about their religion in a very different way, which makes them stand up and fight for it. Our children are not being taught about the religion in that manner. And pedagogy tells us that if we don't tell them that, they also do not see Hinduism under threat, and they realize it at a much later stage in life, like we are realizing right now, right? So transgenerational trauma is, as I was talking about, is talking about trauma of the generations that has gone through. Like, for example, Ram Janmabhoomi. 500 years back, our temple was destroyed. But what continued in that is the memory. And we carried the memory of that place, and after 500 years, we got it back. Are we going to get back the other spaces, the other areas that we lost in a similar way? The chances are very little, because in the way that there is an assault upon our identity, our collective consciousness, as we call it, we may not be able to retrieve it back until and unless we teach the next generation about it, right? So it is very important that we help develop the Hindu children with a new identity, with a new consciousness about themselves, right? And this is what we call the pan Indian or the pan world identity. And this collectiveness, it is something that is the need of the hour. The slavery for 1000 years has fragmented us. How do we build it back again, right? We can take an example from the Jewish people. The Jewish people also got scattered for 2000 years. And when they were given the land of Palestine, one of the things that has come about is that the British told the Arabs that the Jews, they have almost been slaughtered during the Holocaust. Nothing is left. They are not a people who can be an army. They are traders primarily. And the army that they have created can be demolished and finished in any time, right? So it will be just a very small task for you to do so, right? So the Arabs thought that finishing the Jewish army and Jewish people will be a matter of time, and they won't be able to stand against them. But the very opposite happened. The very opposite. The Jews fought like people possessed, like an army possessed. And everyone was surprised, the British, the Europeans, the Arabs, that where are they getting this strength right now to fight? And these people who have not fought a single war for almost 2000 years, they were never part of any army, they never fought, they only stayed on the edge of society, as we call it. Suddenly, where are they getting this zeal, this passion to fight? And today, for example, we know that the Jewish people, the Jewish army is one of the best in the world. In the Yom Kippur War, they had 12 nations fighting against them together, and they all defeated them. Where did that collectiveness come from? Psychologists have studied that. And what they found is that the Jews, they changed, they submerged their older identity into a new identity. Like 50 years back, or sorry, more than 50 years back, say 75, 80 years back, if you were to ask a Jew, what's your identity? He would say, I'm a German Jew, or I'm a French Jew, or I'm an American Jew. But after the Holocaust, they all started changing and saying that I'm a Jew. So the identity changed from individual to collective when they realized the threat upon them, when they realized that they are just on the point of extermination. So if a race after 2000 years under feeling of extermination could change its identity, surely we can do much better. Surely we can give up our individual identities. For example, that I'm a Bengali Hindu, or I'm a Kashmiri Hindu, or I'm from so and so part, or I'm a Dalit, or I'm this, or I'm a Brahmin. We can all start thinking like a Hindu. And I can tell you that if we start thinking like that, and a process like that is something which is initiated, 1 billion of us can be a very powerful force. And that is the only way. There is no option left apart from that. If we don't follow that step right now, then we would not be able to go ahead and survive. We will not be able to preserve, ourselves. And let me say this, that even at this moment, when we are talking, even at the moment we are discussing about how to preserve ourselves, how to talk ourselves, there are people, there are organizations which are trying to get me the book. Uh, there are people who are trying to destroy us, demolish us, change us, right? Now, I was introduced with my book, The Infidel Next Door, right? Which I wrote as response to my work with Hindu refugees of Kashmir, and also my work with terrorists. I'm a clinical psychologist. I work in close, contact with both them. And the other day, this person, he wrote to me saying that I bought your book, but you have not mentioned anything about transgenerational trauma or Hinduism or about Kashmir. Now, here is my book, which I think I'm just putting it across. So I was very surprised. I said, but my book is of that. So he says, no, I bought your book and I tried to read it, but I couldn't go through it beyond 100 pages. I spoke to him. So then I realized that he had bought another book, which is called The Infidels Next Door. So when my book came out in the market, it is on Amazon.com and Amazon.in. Also, at the same time, you will see a book called the Infidels Next Door. The only difference is the plural, right? So my book was prevented from publishing. My book was no big publisher would take it. And when it finally has come out, someone has cleverly manipulated and put another book, so people get confused, people get thing, and buy that book, which is also happening, right? So it means that somewhere there are people who are trying to stop this book from reaching across, right? Another person, one of my friends, Gunjan, she told me the other day that she met some people from Pakistan, and they said, we would not let this book ever, reach Pakistan or come across there, or he dealt with that. So even the fact is that this book talks about transgenerational trauma and helping the Hindus to be aware of their roots in a historical sense. And there are people who don't want this book to reach to the masses, to the people. So it is a sole effort, and I would understand that all our efforts like that are perhaps like that. They are being prevented from reaching out and spreading across. I'm the only psychologist, perhaps in India, and perhaps who speaks openly about these topics. And there are people who are aware of that it was the Jewish psychologists who played a critical role in Jewish resurgence. They did researches, they talked to people using a different language, and they do not want people like me or people who use this kind of framework approach to go ahead and spread their word. So it is very important to understand that, yes, we are aware of the threat, we are aware of the danger that we face, but also how do we support the people, how do we support ourselves, how do we become a collective in the present circumstances, and go ahead. When I was some time back on a book tour, I had gone to a temple where a lecture was organized, and there was this Hindu priest who asked me that apni kiniye lecture dite eschen. He was Bengali. What have you come to lecture with? So I said the threats to Hinduism, and he was surprised. He says, Hinduism face threat? I said, yes, they are facing threat. We are all facing threat. He says, what kind of a threat? So I talked to him briefly about what threat we are facing. I realized I did not make any impression upon him. I perhaps failed. He was talking to some of the boys and girls over there about Hinduism. I'm talking, the situation happened in US. He was talking about Hinduism concepts and things like that. And he said, maybe, if you can also talk to them. I talked to them and I said, do you know about the threats to your religion? Do you know that how many people have fought for it? They were not aware, but there was one difference. They got interested. They said, oh, I mean, all we hear about Hinduism is about the Vedas and the Gitas and the shlokas that we have to remember. But we did not know that Hinduism faces threats. So where can I read it, or where can I know it? So I said, okay, there is right now nothing, written about it, or nobody talks about it, to you. So they said that if that is so, then you must talk about it. You must share your experiences, right? So I think that, we need to talk about in that language to our children, to our youth, telling them about the struggle of Hinduism. That is extremely important, that when they grow up, they are, not met with disdain. They are not met with puzzle and, mm, getting surprised that nobody talked about it. A Christian child or a Muslim child knows about the struggles of his religion from his madrasa, from the church. They are talked about in different ways. We need to change the way, the pedagogy with which we teach our children right now if we have to survive. So I will stop with that because I know that I have also taken extra time because of the fact that I got switched off. So I have tried to condense my talk in this, and if there are any questions or answers, I would be very glad to answer. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Mitra. I can see one raised hand, Mamta Kabra. So I will unmute you and you may please ask your question.
Yeah,
Mamta ji?
hi. Yeah, hello, sir. So here I wanted to ask you about the psychic, that how the Britishers used against Indians and divided Indians on, the basis of Dravidian and, uh, the way they divided, and that mentality is still existing among the Indians out here. That there is a Dravidian thing, that is, we are like South India is a Dravidian, and the North Indians are Aryan. So the way that, and then they made us really low, felt low about our languages and made English the supreme language. And that's why they created divide in our society. And that's how, that was imposed on us. Now, my question is, how do we now raise the psychic of the whole Hindu community across the world, where they are more united? Because half of the time it's like whenever we all come together, there is like the unity is not seen. So which is very important to fight this whole, ecosystem that is created against Hinduism.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a very important question. Yes, that's Dr. Mitra.
Yeah, I will answer that question briefly. The British divided us. It is very true. And do you know one thing? The British were also expert psychologists. For example, the person who made Andamans, if you study why he made it, the Andaman jails, he writes about it that if we are able to take the Indians out of their homeland, away from that, they will feel that they have lost their caste, they have lost their identity, and they will be living in fear. The British understood very well how the Muslims had the created fear in the Hindus, and they carried on with that process. And the fact is that that is what I am writing in my next book, The Island Without a Shore, which is about how the British created terror and how they became a victim of their own terror, which was created by the Bengali revolutionaries, the Punjabi revolutionaries, and that forced them to leave. There was no scope for ahimsa and charkha over there in order to make them go. Like regarding your second question about how do we bring this unity, I think we need to see that how others have created the unity, and the way the unity can be brought about is only through one way, and that is creating awareness, right? So, for example, a simple thing, like if there are millions of people who go to Birla Temple, they read about the Birla temples, so that Birlas, who were great industrialists, built their temple, but do we know that the temple which came about has a different history behind it? If we teach this different history, all those millions of people who visit it will get commonly bound by a single thread. The history of trauma binds us, and we have not taught a history of trauma to our children. We are not teaching that. Our history is not the real history. Like, how does a German child read his history? He reads his history in terms of why he came to the point where he created the Second World War, right? So that they don't do it again. How do the Americans today read history? They read history in terms of context. We read a history in terms of a way which has no connection to us, which disconnects us. So if we start, first of all, reading a history which is a true history and how we had people who fought for us, that will be the first step in binding us, creating a pan-Hindu identity together. Now, one of the things that the Jewish identity came about was also, say, because of the movie The Schindler's List. We are all aware of that. People did not think favorably about Jews. Even, for example, the Jewish Museum in Washington, if you read its history, nobody wanted it. They struggled for it. They fought for it. Jews came together from different says that we need a museum like that, right? So therefore, you have to come together and create symbols, create works of art. Now, it's almost been almost a year. Many people told me to make a film on this to let the worldwide audience know about this, about the transgenerational trauma of Hindus, how they have faced it, right? No Bollywood producer would come forward. There were some who connected. One said that I want to make an entertainment film out of this. Are you ready? I said, no, I will not. Okay. So and he's one of the top-notch producers in Bombay. He says it's a beautiful story. It is something which is a classic, a masterpiece. But you see, it is too serious for the Indian audiences. So entertainment karna padega isko. So are you? And they were giving me a huge sum for that. I refused. I said no, I will not. Now, can we come together? Can you spread a message to the Hindus, to all people across the world, that there are people who are willing to do it. Very few who are willing to make a film, who are willing to put their lives at risk. Will you put money for it to do it? We need to go ahead and create symbols like that, films, museums, fact, so that we start coming together, so that we realize our common heritage and identity. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mitra. I can see many raised hands, but unfortunately, we have run out of time. If anything, at least this proves that we are still serious about it. So there will be many other questions. If there is a way to contact Dr. Mitra, please do tell us. And also, I will personally recommend reading the book. And also, I'm looking forward to the next book, which is on this Andamans and this. And yeah. So with that, I have to end this session. Our next speaker, Mr. Dipan Mitra, is waiting. So again, Dr. Rajat Mitra, thank you very much. I think if we have some time, we can take up some more questions. So yeah, so if you can also share your contact address, and if you don't mind sharing that email address or something.
No.
So people can
I've written the email in the chat box, and I can also send you my.
Sure. So I can. Yeah. In the meanwhile, maybe Mr. Dipan Mitra, can you please turn on your video? I cannot see you. Okay. Right. Anyway, so Dipan Mitra, he is an education specialist and a human rights activist, and one of the most prominent Hindu leaders in Bangladesh, current Bangladesh. So he did his MCA from India, from Sikkim Manipal University, and then did his MA in educational leadership from the BARC University, Dhaka. So he also appeared for PhD research at the National University, Bangladesh, and he has been involved in many governmental as well as non-governmental organizations like BARC, DAM, GIZ, Save the Children, etc. And he has been working in this BARC University as an educational specialist since 2006. So his forte is working with religious minorities, children rights, human rights, etc. So, and he is the senior research fellow of the Bureau of Human Rights in Bangladesh, and also the executive member of Inter-Religion Harmony Society. Now, only recently I saw him in news because this Deepan Mitra, Secretary General, he's from the World Hindu Federation, the Bangladesh chapter. They could write a letter to the Prime Minister of Bangladesh highlighting the plight of Hindus and the recent attacks and the way the temples were vandalized, etc. So today we will be hearing from him about Hindus in Bangladesh. So, Mr. Mitra, over to you.
Thank you. I am audible?
Yes, you are audible and you are also visible.
Thank you, everyone, and especially the organizer who organized such a nice conference, especially against the conference that is dismantling global Hindutva. Yeah, I am surprised why they choose the date 11th September for organize their conference dismantling global Hindutva, because everybody knows that on that day 11th September the Islamist terrorists attacked on Twin Tower in USA. They destroyed the Twin Tower and more than 4,000 people were died. Yeah, so they choose the date, choose the same date for organizing their conference to relate the Hindutva as the same as Islamic terrorist. So for this reason, I am talking some points about the Hindutva. I believe the Hindutva, Hinduism and Sanatana Dharma, there is no different. But outsider, they want to make Hindutva as a terrorist concept. First, we saw what is the Christianity and Islamism. And if we see in Old Testament, chapter 2, verses 17, the God says, you can eat all the fruits of the garden except the fruit of the knowledge. If you eat, you must die. And when you see in chapter 3, verses 1 to 7, God will prove a great liar, because the man ate the fruits but he never died. So from the beginning, God became a liar. And another point, God want to make man in dark. God didn't want man will be intellectual. But in other respect, what it says in Vedas and Sanatana, Ashutama Sadgamayo, Tamashma Jyotirgamayo, Mittuma Amritam Gamayo. That means we are come from light to truth, dark to lightness, and mortality to immortality. This is the basic difference between Hinduism and Islamism and Christianity. And I want to mention another quote from the Bible, chapter 12, verses 49 to 53. Jesus said, do you think I have come for peace? No, I come here to set the fire on the earth, and I will create divided between the men. I will create divided within a family. Yeah, I will son against the father, father against son, daughter against mother, mother against daughter. Yeah, yes, God wants to create divided and make quarrel between each other. Yeah. And even the Christianity we saw, I have to mention that they never want the civilization. They wanted to destroy the civilizations. You know, everybody knows the Olympics. You know, in Greece, the Olympics was there for a thousands of years ago. And the god Zeus prayed for his wife, goddess Hera. And regarding this prayer, they celebrate a game named Olympics. But when the emperor Theodosius came in power, he stopped all the rituals and stopped the game. That means Christianity didn't want the civilization. They want to destroy the civilizations. Even in the Roman civilizations, the Christian missionaries destroy the Roman civilizations. Yeah. Now we came in another year about Islamism. In Quran, Surah 4, Ayat 56, Surah 66, Ayat 9, Surah 59, Ayat 2. Here, God tell to their Muslims, to their followers, to attack on the non-believers, to attack on the kafir and mushrik, and he also ordered the Mumin Muslims to be rushed to the non-believers. That means God want to destroy the all non-believers. And already mentions the different speakers how the Muslims attack in India and destroy our old civilizations and destroy the thousands of mandirs and kill millions of Hindus. And so I want to mention some few names. The Muhammad bin Qasim and Tuimulong. At that period, he killed 1/5 of population at that time. That means if we compare with the recent time, now it is nearly 160 crore people. If it is happened in recent time. So everybody knows the Jews Holocaust in Second World War, but I think this is the greatest Holocaust where 1/5 of people from the earth were killed by the Muslims, and they want to destroy all the civilizations, all the cultures. For example, Ikhtiaruddin bin Mukhtar Khilji in 1199, he attacked South Bihar and destroyed Odantapur Vishwavidyalaya and the greatest Nalanda Vishwavidyalaya. At that time, he killed 3,000 teachers and more than 20,000 students. The students came there from all over the world because at the time there was the only one university in the world. So Indians was the rich in knowledge, but the Muslim destroyed everything. And but about the Mughal era, the era of Emperor Akbar, Babur, Jahangir, Shah Jahan, and the last Aurangzeb. All of them destroy the thousands of mandirs and construct the mosques on the mandirs and kill millions of Hindus. This is the common practice of them. But what we see in India, we glorify the perpetrators, the killers. We say Akbar the Great, sword of Tipu Sultan. So the Hindus know, now the Hindus know the Muslim emperor was the great person. So they didn't know the real history. So I think first this is the time we have to learn the real history for our children, for our students who are studying in college, universities. If they know the real history, then they will realize what was happening for the Hindus and what will do for saving, for protecting Hindus. And now come in the point of Bangladesh. In Bangladesh, every day, every part of corner of Bangladesh, Hindus are persecuted. But there is no justice for the Hindus, and government patronize the Muslims, the fundamentalist group, to attack on Hindus. So I want to mention this two records. And 17th March 2021, the supporters of fundamental Islamist group named Hifazul Islam, they attacked on a Hindu village named Salta at Sunamganj district in Bangladesh. They totally destroyed the whole village, and they demolished more than 122 Hindu houses. They looted all valuable things, and even they destroyed more than 10 temples there. But government didn't take any kind of initiatives to against the perpetrators. Even when this news was viral in social media, government arrested some people as I was, and after a few days, all got released. But unfortunately, Jhuman Das, a innocent Hindu boy, whose Facebook ID was hacked, and according to his Facebook ID, the attack was happened. But Jhuman Das is still in jail. But when the judges didn't provide bail, for the 5 times judge refused to get the bail for Juman Das because he is Hindu. This is the reality in Bangladesh. And I want to mention another incident in last August, 7th August, at Shiali village in Rupsha Upazila in Khulna district. Same kind is happening. Why this is happening? They are the Shiali village is a total Hindu populated village. The villagers, few villagers went to the Shoshan to bury a dead body, and they reciting the Harinam Kirtan. And a mosque beside there on the road. For this reason, the Muslim felt insulted their religion. They attacked on Hindu village and they demolished more than 59 Hindu houses and 8 temples, and they looted all valuable things. Unfortunately, I want to mention the why we don't make the protect them, because already mentioned in Salta and Sunamganj incidents. After the incidents, more than 100 families, Hindu families, were in open sky because there was no shelter. All of them are destroyed. They looted all valuable things. And I appeal, in Bangladesh, we operate an NGO, especially for the minority Hindus. But we appeal the many Hindus globally to support us to make a small shelter for them so that they get a shelter on their and we want to provide them some training so that they can get the self-employment. They can, so because Hindus don't want relief, they want to stand on their foot. But unfortunately, we haven't got not a single penny. I repeat, we haven't got not a single penny from outside of Bangladesh, from any Hindus. But in parallel, I want to mention another incident in the Rohingya Muslims in Myanmar. The Rohingya Muslims, they have a terrorist group named Arakan National Army. They attacked on army camp and police station on they attacked more than 69 police camp and army camp and killed 76 army and police persons. After the incidents, when the army take actions, Rohingya Muslim take shelter in Bangladesh, and Bangladeshi government welcome them to provide shelter. And when now more than 13 lakhs Rohingya Muslims is in Bangladesh, and when they entered in Bangladesh, all over the world, all NGOs, they provide millions of dollars for the Rohingyas. But even we have another example, a student in Turkey, he's a university student, he collect the relief from their university and she going to railway stations and provide relief and provide money for the Rohingya Muslims, because Muslims thinks for Muslims, Christians thinks for Christians, but not a Hindu thinks for another Hindu. This is the main problem, because we are totally scattered. I know the Lord Sri Krishna says, Dharma Rakshati Rakshat. If we protect our Dharma, then Dharma will protect us. But nowadays, we are totally out of Dharmas. We never practice our Dharma. We never went to the mandirs. So, but for example, in USA, outside of USA citizen, most of the intellectuals are Indians and Bangladeshi Hindus. The university teachers, engineers, software engineers, architects, all of them are Hindus, but they never think about the Hindus. They never support the Hindus. So I think this is the right time to think what is happening. I already mentioned what is trying Christian missionaries, what is trying the Islamizations. They want to remove Hinduism and they want to remove all Hindus from all over the world. They're targeting India. But I believe now still the Indian Hindus are in sleep. But they never think when India becomes again a Muslim country, again under the Muslim emperor, what will happen for Hindus? So I request everyone to be united and to make a strong platform and to raise the voice, because I know this conference against the conference of dismantling global Hindutva organized by more than 40 universities all over the world. But they raise the issue Hinduism as a terrorist, as like an Islamic terrorist. But then it should be dismantling Islamist terrorism from the world. It should be. But they want to dismantling Hinduism, because this is a great conspiracy for the Hindus. Now we have to realize what is happening for the Hindus. And I request all, if there is any questions, I want to provide answer.
Right. So yes, thank you very much.
And my contact number is in chat box. Anyone?
I think the chat box.
Me?
These things, no, I think the chat box. These things are not reaching. I mean, at least I do not see your contact number. Even for Dr. Rajat Mitra's, he said he sent it. I could not see. I'm not sure. So you have to send to everyone, maybe, or I'm not sure what the problem is. In any case, so if there are questions, people can please do ask. So, I mean, I want to highlight one thing that we have been talking about. See, so the courage that Mr. Dipan Mitra and all the others are doing, staying in Bangladesh and then openly calling out these issues, where we all know how they can be. I mean, these Hindu bloggers got killed and all of this. That requires courage. And the previous speaker just spoke about trauma and how important it is to psychologically win the game. So this is a very important part, to say that if you get a defeatist mentality that, oh, no, we will not speak, then so you are defeated. So, I mean, I really kudos to Mr. Mitra and others. So if you have some questions, please do raise your hand or type it out. In the meanwhile, I have got the contact address for Mr. Dipan Mitra. I'm just pasting it in the chat box for everyone. Yeah.
If there is no questions, I can raise another issue.
Yeah, sure, please.
Yeah, you know,
we are actually at the end of the session, Dipanji. So
yes.
Yeah, you can add 1 minute of concluding remarks.
Yes.
Definitely.
Sure. Okay. Now I conclude my things. Before conclude, I have to mention another thing. You know, the Muslims, what they want? They want Islamization in a country. They want the Sharia law. But whenever the Sharia law is established in a country, they never stay there. For example, in Afghanistan, when the Taliban captured the power, they established Sharia law, Islamizations, but Muslims left their country and want to go to the non-Muslim countries. Same is happening in Syria. When the IS captured the power and established the Islamist law in the country, but the never Muslims stay there. They want leave the country and goes to the non-Muslim countries, because the devil will stand for the Muslims. Yeah.
Thank you for all the work you're doing, Dipanji. This year, actually, I work on lots of these issues, and between March and December, I've been holding webinars on the Bangladesh 50th year anniversary and highlighting, the issues from that time until now. So today we even had Dr. Richard Benkin to discuss the Bangladesh, quiet cleansing, ethnic cleansing of the Hindus that he has written a book about. So, and yeah, so.
Okay, great. I can conclude my speech.
Thank you so much for all your, because this is a late night session and people are joining.
one line,
So-
just one line. I want to conclude in
One
one
line.
line.
Yeah, sure, please.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have an appeal to all secular leftist Hindus to provide the immigration in Afghanistan and Taliban, because there are no Hindus terrorists there. They have equal rights there. So I request all secular leftist Hindus to, I will provide free immigration to Syria, Afghanistan. So if anyone interested, please contact us. Thank you,
So
everyone.
okay, on that note, we can end, but I'll be very surprised if you find some secular leftists in this
Yes,
conference
please,
now attending.
I request you please note it here, and if possible to disseminate the my appeal to all
Sure.
secular Hindus.
Absolutely. We will definitely do that. Thank you so much for this session, Deepanji.
Thank you.
Thank you,
everyone.
Arnabji, for hosting it.
Thank
And
you. Thank you all. So we can move to the
yeah.
next session. Yeah, we are all
I
waiting for
really
the next
appreciate highlighting all the issues.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste. Namaste. Take care.
Thank you. I think we had two really important sessions, two states in turmoil, Kashmir and West Bengal, and some of the transgenerational trauma and also Bangladesh issue that Deepan Mitra ji brought out. I think we probably missed highlighting Kerala, which is often known as the next Kashmir. But now we are sort of switching